Welcome to Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning for Tuesday, November 4th. I'm your host, Tom Orr. The Purdue game in 4 days, the game against Michigan in 25 days. If you are planning your next event, make it unforgettable with Grateful Griddle, Columbus's favorite food truck, serving up smash burgers, gourmet sandwiches, and good vibes. Book your catering today at gratefulgriddle08.com. All right, today you're getting the show I thought you were going to get yesterday, but then there was some breaking news involving a couple of commitments on the offensive line. Want to get up to speed on that? You can listen to the show that Tony Gerderman and I did yesterday on the Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning podcast feed. Today, you're going to get to hear a little bit from Ryan Day in the wake of the Buckeyes' 38-14 win over Penn State over the weekend. You know, outside of the last couple minutes of the first half, that was about as dominant as you're going to see a performance for one team against another that is, certainly at least a top 15 team talent-wise in the nation. So let's get Ryan Day's overall thoughts on the performance.
Well, I think it's a great example for everybody that when you turn the ball over, especially down there, you put yourself at risk. I mean, all the work that gets put in, can be all for naught if we don't take care of the football. So it's a lesson learned. We came in at halftime. We were up by 3. You would have thought we were down by 21. But I thought we responded well, and that's the thing is when you come out in the second half, you have to learn from the first half, but you can't dwell on it. And so we knew how important that first drive was. We were aggressive, and I thought some of Julian's deep balls were just excellent in this game, and saw how they were playing us in the first half. Felt like we had a chance to get behind them, and so we called those plays, and Julian and the receivers did a great job. Jeremiah, Carnell, and then it was good to see, obviously, us finish the game with some runs. Got physical, so that was good as well. But the defense was excellent. Really stepped up. I know there was a couple third downs early on that were frustrating, but I thought Matt, changed it up a little bit, and then the guys played, really physical. Got to the quarterback, changed up the looks in the back end. So very good team win.
There were certainly some questions about the performance of the offensive line at times, especially the interior of the offensive line. Was Ryan Day happy with what he saw there?
Man, I'll have to watch it all, but that is the good thing. We get to watch the iPad. I thought there was some plays that when you're playing against a team like Penn State who has a lot of talent, you're going to have some plays that aren't perfect. But I thought the strain to protect when you're pushing the ball down the field like we are. The first big play to Carnell, the one to Jeremiah, the other one to Carnell. I mean, those are probably 3.5 second plus plays. There's a lot of strain on those plays. So I thought that was well done. It was good to see us finish late in the game. I thought we really fit some runs up late and were physical late. That was good. Sometimes the run game takes a little time. So was it perfect? No, but I thought the guys played hard and there was a lot of good play in there.
You saw a bunch of new stuff from the offense, especially right out of the box early in the game. So is that a function of just coming off an off week and having some more time to work some new stuff in there? Or is that a factor of going against a coordinator like Jim Knowles, who obviously knows the Ohio State offense pretty well? What was the why behind all that new stuff?
Well, we wanted to change up the looks and the personnel groupings and just try not to be not predictable. I think that's probably something that for us, we try not to be predictable, but that's not really the right word to use. We just wanted to change up the groupings and just make the defense a little bit uncomfortable and not being able to anticipate maybe what they were getting, if that's the best way to put it. But we certainly weren't going to re-engineer our offense based on the team that we were going against. So I felt like we did that. We found ourselves in some different formations, and then we shifted and moved it around so that they couldn't, really nail us down. And then we identified what the game plan was, and I thought we really attacked them in the second half.
Julian Sayin has taken over as the new Heisman frontrunner for this season. Complete 87% of your passes for more than 300 yards and 4 touchdowns and no picks. Well, that's going to help boost your candidacy quite a bit. And that's something that you didn't see a ton of Ohio State quarterbacks in that Heisman conversation before Ryan Day showed up. Then, since he got here, pretty much all of Ohio State's starting quarterbacks have shown up somewhere in that Heisman conversation. No one's won yet since Ryan Day's been here. Several guys have gotten close. Julian Sayin now certainly in that conversation as well. Does Ryan Day take pride in the fact that Ohio State has really turned into quarterback U? Because they really haven't been for most of their history. And then you'll hear that answer to that. And there's a follow-up question that it's real brief. And I don't know if you can hear it real well. It's from Rob Aller of the Columbus Dispatch. He's just asked a very simple question. Is Julian Sayin the best quarterback in America? So here are those two answers.
Well, it comes down to everybody involved. I think, it starts with Hart as the coordinator, then it goes down to Billy as the position coach, and everybody involved with it. And then it goes to Julian and the guys who play the position. And Julian's, really getting more and more confidence every day. He works at it. I think the preparation that he puts in that quarterback room is starting to show. His mind works as quick as the ball comes out. He's obviously accurate. So I think one of the biggest plays of the game was the scramble he had. Would love to see him have two hands on the ball there, but that was a big scramble in that spot. You didn't know where the game was going. And that's what happens in those games. You fumble the ball in the first half, and it's a 3-point game at halftime. You don't get that first down. Who knows where the game goes? I mean, these are the turning points in the game that from following these games. And I know as years go on, you watch these games, you see those moments where the game could turn. And so I thought that was a big play. So he's growing in the run game as well, I think. But to answer your question, yeah, I believe that when you come as a position coach, it should be that position you. That's what I think. And I felt like that when I first got here. And it's great to see, the quarterbacks continue to believe in what we're doing. I don't know. I shouldn't say I don't know what else is out there. I've watched them from afar. I think there's some really good quarterbacks across the country this year. There's a lot of good quarterbacks in the conference. And so, it'll be told when the season's over. I think it's easy to be it whenever week 8, week 9, week 10, and try to make, proclamations on where guys are. I think we have to see, what the season, holds for us and the progress that's made, and then we go from there. And I think even when you look at, the Heisman Trophy, it's sort of after the season's over, and there's still a whole bunch of football to be played afterwards. So I think that's unique, but that's the tradition. But I do think that if Julian continues to play the way that he's playing, he deserves to be in the conversation at the very least.
There's a lot to like about Julian Sayin, the accuracy and the deep balls and all that kind of stuff. We get it. But his demeanor, too. I mean, you saw the tweet, I'm sure, that he looks like he's listening to Maroon 5 while he's out there because he's just so calm and mellow at all times. Unflappable was what the question asker during the press conference, that was the word they used, his unflappable demeanor. So how much does that help him do what he does?
Well, that's something that's very hard to teach. When you can feel the rush and not have your eyes on it. Your eyes can be down the field. You can anticipate what's happening, and the ball comes out. And I'd like to tell you that we coach that, but we don't. He has that feel, and that's something that makes quarterback special. He has that trait.
You heard earlier Ryan Day say that it felt like they were down 21 at halftime. They were obviously up by 3 points at that point. So why did he feel like they were down 21 at half?
I just think that we felt like we were playing well in certain areas, but it just, they got a couple first downs on us. We fumbled, they scored, and it was a little frustrating. And I think we want to be in at halftime. In that moment, we wanted to be at least winning by 10, and then to turn around and only be up 3, it was like, you got to be kidding me. Because at that point, we felt like we were getting the ball to start the second half. We were going to be somewhat aggressive, but not reckless. We wanted to end with the ball or points. And for us to fumble in the first play, it was very frustrating. So that's really what led to that, probably.
Ryan Day talked last week about, trying to keep things professional and, not let emotion get involved when you're playing someone like Jim Knowles, who was with the Buckeyes last year and then chose to leave for Penn State. So did he get the sense that maybe the players took things a little personally with Knowles on Saturday?
Honestly, no. I didn't feel any of that. Maybe, I guess, when the season started and when I was looking ahead, I thought maybe that would come into play, but it just didn't. I don't think any of our coaches or players were distracted by that.
It would not have been hard for Ohio State to maybe overlook that Penn State game on Saturday. They very clearly didn't do that, but it was a team that was coming in on a 4-game losing streak. They fired the coach. They'd lost their starting quarterback. Ohio State was favored by 3 touchdowns. And the Buckeyes just came out and outside of that one little blip right before halftime, really just handled their business for the full game. So what does it mean for a team to just not take a game lightly like that? They really haven't overlooked an opponent because of the record yet this season. So I would assume, is that a good sign for this team?
We constantly talk about being consistent week in and week out. It doesn't matter who the opponent is. And I thought this was a good example of, really not testing the theory out, but seeing, where our team was in this area because, if you have a young team where, you play to your opponent, you obviously put yourself at risk. And so how do you perceive a team that's, lost a few games in a row, and going through some difficult times? Well, these guys still have a lot of NFL players on the team, and we knew it was going to be a challenge. So, again, it just went back to us and our preparation and how hard we play. And, for us, that was just the next team on the list that we have to execute against. And that's a tribute to the coaches and a tribute to the players for continuing to believe in that and keep pushing. And I still think we all know that we can get better in certain areas. We got to keep pushing. And so we have to master the routine, and that's getting rest tonight, come back tomorrow, address the issues, and then it's on to Purdue.
And finally, the first half to the second half was really night and day, at least on the scoreboard. It went from 17-14 in the first half to 21-0 Ohio State in the second half. So, all right, what changed at halftime? What was the message to the team at the break? And, you'll hear Ryan Day start answering that question, and then this turns into a whole lot of other stuff that he clearly wanted to talk about and didn't get asked about. So he just kind of went, well, this is the last question, so I'm just going to talk about all of it here. So this is sort of a long and meandering answer, but a lot of good stuff in here.
Well, I said kind of what I tell you guys. You're either winning, losing, or you're tied at halftime. And we have to identify what went on in the first half. And, say it all the time, all the work that gets put in, if we turn the ball over, your whole season can be ruined. So I don't want to just dwell on that one turnover. I feel like I'm talking about it a lot. But we just won 38-14 against Penn State. So if you said that to me about 2 months ago, I don't think I'd be talking about one fumble that we had. But I'd rather be talking about. And by the way, when I said that about Julian Sayin, I also feel like Carnell and Jeremiah. Again, if there's two better wide receivers in the country, I'd like to see them. And they deserve to be up for a lot of awards too as we're getting towards the end of the season because it's not about individual recognition around here, but I know a lot of people. Support their players. I want to make sure that I'm supporting my guys because, they're great players. And then we also have a bunch of guys on defense doing the same thing. So, but this is not about individuals, it's about the team. And that's something that's been a mantra to our team all season long. And so the message at halftime, was that, if we take care of the football, we're going to win the game. If we turn the ball over some more, we're going to be in this game in the fourth quarter. So that was the first thing. The second thing was that we needed to have a great drive to come out in the third quarter, and that great teams win in the second half, and that was really it. And I do want to say before we're done, again, how great the crowd was. I thought the crowd was in the stadium early. They were rocking early. They just, this season, I think Ross has done a great job with the game day atmosphere. And I feel like everybody understands when they have the ball how to be loud and just they're playing off the players. And when the players need the crowd's there. It gives our guys energy. And I could feel it in the second half. And so I just want to thank the crowd because at the Skull Session, we say, the band's got to do their job, the fans got to do their job, and we got to do our job. And I thought and everybody did today for a great win.
All right, well, we will be talking to Ryan Day again Tuesday at noon at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. Tony Gerben and I will be there for that, covering that. We'll be broadcasting that live on youtube.com/Buckeye Huddle per usual. So you can find that there, and then we'll probably try and have some kind of an instant reaction, something or other on that for you as well. We'll have the rewatch show looking back at that Ohio State Penn State game, talking about the stuff we learned. You can find that on our YouTube channel as well as on the Buckeye Huddle podcast feed. And then we'll have more coming up this week on the Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning feed as well. You get to hear a little bit from Purdue, head coach Barry Odom. Got a couple of Ross Fulton shows coming up for you, breaking down some of the schematic do's and don'ts from Saturday's game against Penn State. And then, of course, you can also talk to us all at BuckeyeHuddle.com. That's where we got a whole team of insiders covering the Buckeyes, covering recruiting, covering X's and O's, plus a really fun and active community. The Huddle Board presented by Jeffrey Reese Columbus. That is all at BuckeyeHuddle.com. That'll do it for today. Thank you guys all for joining us. Have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.